The BS Report is a free-flowing conversation that occasionally touches on mature subjects.
First of all,
This is the BS Report with Bill Simmons.
it might be cool, I don't know. And if it's not, I don't
The
care.
BS Report with Bill Simmons.
Bill Simmons works for ESPN. He's also named the Sports Guy, and he writes a comical sports column. He must be a popular dude.
The BS Report.
It's got a real dirty sound, like a rusty steak knife cutting through a well-aged steak.
Now,
Here's Bill Simmons.
Welcome to the BS Report, a Wednesday morning here in Southern California. People thought I was ducking the Super Bowl 46 recap podcast with Cousin Sal. I was not. We were traveling all day Monday. And then yesterday we had to run the Larry Bird podcast, which I hope you listened to. It was a career highlight and a highlight for the BS Report. And now, belated, but we still have to do it. Cousin Sal, how are you?
Listen, I'm doing all right. I'm worried, and more people are worried about you. So I like to switch the focus, but I also like to say I'm cranky. I'm upset. The season's over. Depression is setting in, and the team I hate the most won the whole thing. So that adds a little extra spark to the fire. But what about you? How you feel?
Well, that's the worst thing about losing the Super Bowl is you also have the depression that the football season's over, and now you're entering kind of the dog days to some degree.
Yeah.
So the combo of no more football, no more gambling, and then and my team just gave away the Super Bowl. Pretty tough to take. They were on the 50, 5 minutes left, needed 2 first downs basically to put the game away. And whether Gronk is injured or not, you should probably put that game away if you're a good team. So maybe they just weren't that good of a team. What do you think?
I think they were just as good. I think they were just as good. And, Bernard Pollard should be fitted for a nice Super Bowl ring, maybe even for his whole family. Gronkowski was hugely missed. He caught one pass. And, I don't even think he went on pass routes. He was in blocking a lot of the times he was actually in the game, and then missed probably a third of the fourth quarter. And I don't know. I'm going to be bitter this whole podcast. I'm telling you, Giants fans, I'm sorry, but this is how it's going to be. It seems like you're taking a more realistic approach. But with the Hail Mary, I read one of your 15 silver linings, so you didn't think it had a chance, huh?
No, I mean, from where we saw it just got batted down. I was more looking at the ball and then the reaction. And I just didn't, from our angle, I just didn't see how close Gronk was to that. Well, the amazing part was that Brady got enough mustard on it because he was kind of moving around and it didn't seem like he was going to get the ball. But where he ended up throwing it, it was actually a perfect Hail Mary. And the problem was that Gronk, because he was a little crippled, he just didn't get down far enough. If he had been a yard closer, I think he catches it.
Yeah, I think so too. He's like paying attention, and I was thinking that before they even ran the play, I was like, wow, imagine if Ocho Cinco brings this in and he's doing a touchdown dance for 20 minutes while they review this thing. That would be a fitting end to the season, and combat the Giants' luck that they've had all year. And
the fumbles were incredible. The third fumble was the one that killed me because it happened right in front of us, and just where he was running, he was swarmed by Patriots, and then you see the ball come out, and it just didn't seem like there's any conceivable way the Giants were going to get it, and somehow they got it.
Well, listen, this is and look, I realize every Super Bowl winner has to have some amount of luck getting there, and it's just part of the game. I understand, but I could name. I'm telling you right now, I can name 15 things that happened to the Giants that if one of them doesn't, there's a good chance they're not in, let alone win the Super Bowl. And in the last 2 weeks, 8 balls are on the turf, and they get all of them,
Yeah.
And that's astounding. That has nothing to do with Eli Manning. I'm sorry. He's good. He plays great sometimes, and he's a big game quarterback, but those things have nothing to do with him, and you should be happy and lucky that you won.
Well, I guess my counter-argument to that would be, I wrote this in my column. Like, I just feel like all these teams were pretty close. And at that point, it comes down to, the punt that bounces around and hits Williams in the knee. Right. And Bradshaw's fumble squirting 15% to the right and going toward a Giant instead of the 3 Patriots who were right there. And things like that. It's just part of the game. And I really do think that game came down to those 2 throws. Brady had Welker. that should have been touchdown. He was running right toward us. Like, it's just, as soon as that play started, it was like, oh my God, we might actually get 6 on this.
Now you blame Brady a little more for that, huh?
Oh, totally. In person, that was Brady's screw up. He had Welker.
Have you watched the replay?
I have, but there's something deceiving about the replay, because just watching that live, I need to see a replay from looking, almost from the end zone at what Brady was seeing, because Welker was running toward a spot that was wide open because the cornerback had screwed up. And all he needed to do was throw the ball hard, and it's a 30-yard play. And it actually might have been a touchdown. I don't know why he decided to throw it that way.
It hit both his hands, though, and I feel bad for both. You don't want it to happen to Wes Welker. You don't want it to happen to, you want it to happen to Ocho, who you can blame all season.
Right.
Cut him, but I do feel bad for both Brady and Welker. But, yeah, worst case scenario, he gets that at the 18. The clock runs. They don't have to run another play until 3:30. They have one timeout, and depending on when they get the first down, if they get one at the 8, the game's over.
It wouldn't have clinched the game. That's the thing that people are mistakenly thinking. It would have put us up by 5, and it would have knocked the clock down to, they would have started using. They had one timeout left, so they would have used one of those, and it probably takes us near the 2-minute warning. But they were moving the ball in the Pats D all day. I don't think that's a guaranteed win at that point. I think the bigger issue is whether he could have scored on the play, and I haven't seen enough replays. I've been actually kind of afraid to watch the replays for the most part. I did see the Hail Mary about 150 times, but
I suggest you don't watch the replays. They're pretty good. But let me ask you this. How many plays before the Patriots let the Giants score, let Bradshaw score, were you screaming for them to let them score?
I was watching it with fellow Patriot fan Jamie Horowitz.
Yeah.
I think the Giants got to the 35.
Right.
And at that point, now this is a dorky video game thing that you do, which if you play Madden, anyone who plays Madden has done this. There's a little move that you can do defensively where you basically just send the house, and you don't care if they score.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to get a sack, you're trying to make some sort of play, and if they score, great. You still have the ball with 2.5 minutes left, but just the way the Giants were moving the ball at that point, the whole game they were moving the ball for 5 yards a play all game, and there was a couple times in the previous drive, Eli had Manningham in the corner, and Manningham stepped out of bounds on the 3 for a long pass, but he was open on that play. There was that play where they called the late hold on Will Fork that they were running for first down. They were going to score on that drive. The Pats had caught some breaks with the Giants kind of screwing things up. Their play calling wasn't great either. I had my buddy who was sitting 2 rows behind me, who I'm never going to allow to sit 2 rows behind me again. He is still shaken by how bad Kelvin Gilbride was in that game, because it just seemed like for the first half of the game, the Patriots are basically begging the Giants to run. Their safeties were just running straight backwards on every play, and they didn't want Eli to throw the ball because we couldn't stop their passing game. And the Giants were taking the bait and taking these 4 or 5 yard plays. It's great, knock yourself out, keep doing it, because that's going to keep the score low. Well, and then the second half they figured it out.
Because it did seem to be a Giants game plan. It worked perfect. I mean, I think the time possession was 37-22. But there were some drives where they were running 2 out of the 3 plays. Oh, my God, just throw. Nix is dying for the ball. He's open. Why are you even bothering running here? But it did sort of work out that they kept it low scoring. But as far as the letting Bradshaw score, I think once you get inside the 15, that's when you're at their mercy there. And I think Belichick needs to start letting them score there. Because you're really banking on, another Billy Cundiff situation. It's just not going to happen, right? You're not going to get that lucky 2 weeks in a row. And even Bradshaw.
Not indoors.
Yeah, I don't blame Bradshaw. I think that was another screw up by Gilbride. I think Manning should be taking a knee. I mean, if you hand off to Bradshaw, he's got to think he wants to score, It was weird that they weren't trying to tackle him, but the Giants screwed up by not taking a knee. But it didn't really matter, I guess.
Or at least you tell them in the huddle, hey, Ahmad, they might let you score here. Just fall down.
Yeah, take a knee at the one. Yeah.
But that's something that I don't think teams do enough. Once they were in the 35, they were going to keep going. It was just that Manningham play was such a momentum kill. And the other part was the Pats defense had been on the field for 2/3 of the game.
Right.
So, you just the odds of them like really banding together and getting some, like, I guess the parallel would be the Vikings Saints championship game 2 years ago. The Vikings get first down, I think, on like the 38, and then the Saints really came together, and then they got that interception.
Right.
I don't think that was also, I think, in regulation too. I don't
think
they're
going to throw when they know they just have to run the ball, so the interception the possibility is taken away. You gotta let them score, I think.
Yeah, the defense was gassed at that point, and I would have much rather have seen us just send the house every play, and if they scored, so be it. Because I think if we had a little over 2 minutes left, I don't know if we would have scored. The Gronkowski thing was just massive. And just you watch it, like the first quarter, you watch him come off the line, and it was like, oh boy, that's not good. And then you're kind of hoping, all right, maybe if he's running around, it'll loosen up. And then by the end of the first half, I think the Giants just realized this guy can't hurt us. Yeah. And that's when they put Chase Blackburn on, and they put their better pass coverage linebacker on Hernandez. Right. And at that point, the other thing, being at the game, in the fourth quarter, Ocho was basically on the left side for a lot of the fourth quarter by himself. He had a cornerback on him. There was no safety help whatsoever. The safety was just shading toward the side of the field. Brady never even looked at him. And Ocho was like, at any point, could have just beaten his guy one-on-one and just sailed down the field without any safety help at all. Yeah. And Brady just never looked at him because Ocho was freaking useless this whole season.
He knew the over-under was a half a reception, and once he got that, it was like, fine, you don't need to be part of this game. But I do want to talk about like two possible rule changes. That I think, again, this is anti-Giants based on this one game that I hated so much, but the safety in the first quarter, the Patriots' first possession, Brady drops back. I don't think I've ever seen an intentional grounding call on a ball thrown that couldn't have been within the hash marks over the middle of the field. Yeah. What is the difference to say that Branch just didn't break on the route or broke off the route? You know, like how does a referee say that that's intentional grounding and instead of the guy ran a bad route? I mean, he wasn't totally in trouble, Brady. There might have been a little holding going on the front, but that wasn't grounding to me. What did you think when it happened?
I thought watching it live, I instantly thought, oh, crap, that's going to be grounding because there was nobody there. I thought it was a terrible play by Brady. And, you know, when you think, like, it's your first possession of the game, we just got to stop. Guy does a great punt, pins us at the 5, and you know, they thought we were running in that play, and he goes back. He's got a lot of time, kind of moves around a little bit, and it's just to take a safety there is just unconscionable. I thought
did you think he was in trouble? Like, I didn't think he was like, oh, I got to get rid of this. I'm in trouble. I thought it was somewhere in the middle where, all right, it's sort of, I sort of need to get rid of this, but I'm not. I don't know. It wasn't something I had seen before. And
but when you're in the end zone, though, you have to know, though, Sal. Yeah. You have to know, like, at least I need to throw it near somebody. You can't be like, I'm just going to air it out and hope Branch runs that way.
I guess so. Our buddy Daniel had 75-1 on a safety being the first score for both the Giants and the Patriots, and he was smiling ear to ear. And I said, you better hope that doesn't make a difference. Of course, if the Pats come down and just need a field goal at the end, that would have been easier. But the second one I want to talk about is the 12 men on the field, and the clock runs. The time for the play comes off. The Giants call for 12 men on the field towards the end of the game. The Patriots, where did they start that last drive? At their 24, so I don't know.
They started at the 20, and it's like I thought the same thing afterwards. Like, well, why wouldn't you just put 12 men on the field for every play? And it's 10 seconds and 5 yards of play.
Put 15 guys on the field and get called for 12. I think you can only get called for 12, and then, they'll never move the ball. So they need to change that, I think.
That seems to be a pretty easy rule change. If there's 12 men on the field, the clock just goes back to what it was the previous play.
Yeah.
I mean, just send that in now.
You're running off 30 seconds on a false start inside the minute, right? So why is the other side rewarded for an obvious,
You know, that was another play of one of the 12 terrible plays for Patriot fans for that game. The 12 men on the field, and we actually get the one fumble we've recovered in a playoff game in the last 7 years. Yeah. And just randomly, because that was on our side, and it was right in front of us, I took a picture of. I was like, I'll take a picture of the line of scrimmage on this play, and that was the play where they're 12 Patriots. I have a photo of that.
Oh, really?
From my seat that I'm going to frame and give to my dad as a birthday present. Oh, wait, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to delete it from my camera. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, get rid of that.
Yeah, I'm going to get rid of that one.
Do away with 12 men on the field altogether.
You know what I blame for this whole thing? I blame Miles Austin for somehow losing a football in the lights. I
got to tell you, people are like, why are you so upset about this? I'm like, I sort of feel like my team is to blame for this. Like, we lost to this team twice. There's a lot to point to, but yeah, sure, Miles Austin, why not? He lost it in the sunlight during a night game.
You had that game. The game was over. You had them killed. You had them in the coffin. We were shoveling dirt in them.
Up 12, 5 minutes left. I was there, celebrating maybe a little too much based on our history. Shouldn't have even left my seat, but awful. Yeah.
Why does the narratives that come out of these games, Welker becomes this massive scapegoat. Mm-hmm. And in my opinion, if you're going to scapegoat anybody, it's got to be Brady a little bit more than Welker, because he threw a bad pass on that play, and I just didn't feel like he had a great game. I don't know if he got hurt in the second half. There's rumors that he got after he had that 16 straight streak, he got knocked around, but I just never felt like, other than that 8-minute stretch, end of the second quarter, start of the third quarter, I never felt like he was on his game.
Well, Giselle told him, it was his greatest game he ever played, so one of you is wrong.
I kind of feel sort of bad for Giselle for that. You should be able to make a comment to your friend without it ending up on the internet.
But
I'm sure I said some terrible things.
But here's something. Anyone tells her she's great, and she believes it, and she tells Tom Brady is the greatest game you ever played, and he's like, all right, I threw 6 touchdown passes against Denver 3 weeks ago. Please just keep quiet.
Yeah.
I know what you mean, but just get away from me right now.
Yeah.
But I think she's the scapegoat. I think Welker's sort of off the hook now a little bit, right?
It shifted. Although Welker's, I can't believe anybody would say anything about Welker. I think the guy's been so reliable and so clutch, and that wasn't the type of pass that he normally catches. This guy Greg Bedard of the Boston Globe did a nice breakdown of all the types of throws Welker catches, and the turning around, jumping up in the air catch is something that he's made like 3 of in 3 seasons or something like that.
Yeah.
He catches short, quick passes or little, outs, stuff like that, and that should have been an out. Brady threw it wrong.
It would have been a big-time catch. It was to a fault. But here's what I'm thinking about, and tell me if you agree. Now, are you worried that the Patriots need to change their drafting philosophy once and for all?
Yes.
It's worked all this time.
I'm tired of it.
I think you have a couple good years left with them, but I feel like Brady's going to have an Aikman-esque ending. Like, it's just going to be a very sad last couple of years if you just keep drafting these undersized fourth-rounders, trading all your first-round picks, getting these undersized guys who are overachieving. They're just happy to be on the team, and just like you could tell there's no first-round talent in some of these positions, right?
This is it's a big thing. I mean, you look at that. We had 2 first-round picks last year. I think we had 2 firsts and 2 seconds, and we traded down with one of the firsts and picked up a first next year and a second, and then we traded back a couple times. And with what we ended up with, the top 4 picks, I'm looking this up right now, Nate Solder, Dowling, Shane Vereen, Stephen Ridley, and Ryan Mallett. Those were our top 5 picks in the first 3 rounds.
Yeah.
None of them had any impact in that game. I think Solder played like a quarter. But, all this talk about, look at the Patriots, they're stockpiling picks, they're loaded. It's like, well, none of those guys played in the biggest game of the season other than a quarter or 2. So obviously there's something wrong with what they're doing there. And
right.
Their argument would be
Smith, and it's a different story, yeah.
Well, their argument is we're building depth. The draft is a crapshoot. You're taking more chances, and as much as it's worked for the most part, now we're in a position where Brady was 34 heading into this season.
Yeah.
And I don't totally agree with what the Falcons did with Julio Jones, where they traded their entire draft up to get him. But on the other hand, if we'd had Julio Jones in that game, maybe it goes differently.
Yeah.
I would like to see them get at least one blue chipper out of this next draft.
Yeah.
I just think that, you think about all the gambles they've taken at receiver, second round, third round, and just none of them have worked out. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Anyway.
3-2. I know. I mean, look, I feel for you, but I sit here and I was thinking to myself, I was like, would we have been better off if there was no football this year? And you laugh it off, but it's like, this is a miserable year for being a Cowboys fan. I feel like it takes years off your life a little bit. And plus, I eat terribly on Sundays. Jimmy had his chef friend, our friend Adam, Perry Lang, roast a pig. I'm like, I really think these years, they're taking many years off our lives. Maybe
you have some insight here. You grew up in New York, and
yeah,
you're intimately familiar with Giants fans. We both have Giant fans friends. Mm-hmm. How insufferable are they potentially going to be here? Because it seems like they're riding a high right now, and it could get ugly.
Right. I couldn't believe how confident they were. I don't think I've ever seen a fan base so confident in an underdog team all this way, And they were right.
They knew something.
But it was rough. And now Eli Manning he is, I don't know what to say anymore. People are just putting him way up on a pit. Let him go to the Hall of Fame with Curtis Martin. I don't even care anymore. It's fine. He's a Hall of Famer. You got it.
That was the weirdest narrative to me coming out of this Super Bowl was people trying to figure – people basically putting Eli in the Hall of Fame and being really eager to just close the door. Like, he's a Hall of Famer. He's in. Now we know he's headed there. And it's like, we don't know anything yet.
Yeah, I know.
If he wins 2 Super Bowls and let's say he gets hurt next year and let's say he plays a year and a half more and then has one of those – he's a back – who knows? It's too early, and who cares?
Kurt Warner sort of danced around it, but he was saying the same thing. He's like, he needs to do a little more here,
Aikman won 3. I think if you win 3, it's a no-brainer. Aikman, you look at his career, and I think it was, only 10 years?
89, yeah.
Something like that?
Maybe 11, yeah.
So and Aikman, to me, I thought he got in a little sooner than maybe he should have. I'm confused by the Hall of Fame in general.
I am, too.
I don't really understand. I don't understand how they could be in a room and Bill Parcells doesn't get into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Who's in the room going, no, I don't think he's in. He didn't do enough, not memorable enough. He's the best coach of the last 30 years. Are you kidding me?
The coaching tree that begins with him. Everyone successful has come out of him. And
what coach meant more than Bill Parcells since 1975? You got to be kidding me.
I know. Well, I mean, is it just like if you don't like a guy, you could say no? Is that just how it's like third graders voting on this?
It's ridiculous. I don't know how they figure it out. And then it seems, and they're so pious about the 40 people, and we can't tell you what our votes were.
Right.
This is ridiculous. Bill Parcells, you came out of a room and decided Bill Parcells wasn't a Hall of Famer. What kind of democracy is that?
I'm glad you sound better, because when you called me the other day, you were you're not pleased, and understandably, and I was like, sometimes he calls me and it doesn't make sense, but this is important, and you left this message. You mind if I play it? It's the last one.
Yeah, go ahead. I think it's important people hear.
All right, here it is.
Cousin Sal, sports guy here. I call you with a heavy heart and a bloated liver. Been drowning my sorrows for the latest Super Bowl loss to these stink bomb Giants. I can't think of a stronger word than stink bomb. And I was having such a good week, too. I crawled up Larry Bird's rectum to do a podcast. Acoustics are great in there, by the way. Highly recommend it. I shot free throws in the Hoosiers gym and then talked my way out of a speeding ticket. All I had to do is give the cop an autographed copy of the Grantland Quarterly and a leftover shrimp cocktail from St. Elmo's. It's going great until that stink bomb safety call and that stink bomb 12 men on the stink bomb field, and then Wes Welker dropping that stink bomb pass and Giselle throwing the whole team under the bus. I can't take it, Cousin Sal. Been a tough year. I lost my boyfriends Josh Sweetney's Pudding Pop Freeman and Tim Twinkle Toes Tebow, and now my Pats let me down. I'm thinking of ending it all, but why would I? I got a great wife, great kids, beautiful house, my laptop computer. I eat Subway $5 foot-long sweet onion chicken teriyaki 6 times a week. I could probably name 15 silver linings if I had to. I'm not going anywhere. I'm climbing down from this roof. Oh, no. Wait a minute. What's this? Hold on. What?
Jetpack flying squirrel suit.
Oh, no.
Sergeant.
Here comes Jay Leno in a jetpack. He's trying to be funny. There's only so much a man could take. Screw this. I'm jumping. Rubio, Con, clam chowder number 1.
That's it.
Yeah. That was one of my best ones. By the way, we should mention your own cousin, Jimmy Kimmel.
Yeah.
who works on the show that you work for, who runs it. It's named after him.
Right.
He basically hijacked one of your greatest moments for a bit on the show.
No,
I don't know if you
all
got
right.
enough credit for this.
No, he tweeted. No, he gave me credit. He said it before when he set up the clip. He gave me credit. You want to tell?
Can you tell people what happened in 2000?
In 2000, it was the Survivor's first finale, and we had a party. We had a lot of people over. People cared about Survivor, and just as they were announcing the winner, I pulled the plug on the TV, and people went crazy. Like people were screaming at me.
It was right when Jeff Probst was, because they did it during the same thing, and it was taped and all that stuff, and you waited until the last possible second, then pulled the plug.
Yeah, and I pulled the plug, and then finally when I put it back in, whoever came in second, I can't even remember, was going crazy. It's like one of those things, those fake I'm so happy for you things. So whoever came in second was going crazy, pumping his arm, and so everyone thought that's who won, and it turns out it was the other person who won. It was a big misunderstanding. So anyway, we put out a challenge to the viewers to do the same for the Super Bowl, and the ending couldn't have lent itself better to it. And it's already got 1 million hits on YouTube. If you look up, I don't know, Jimmy Kimmel Super Bowl plug poll or something, TV, you'll see it. And it's great. I mean, people are really furious.
It was a great. What's really amazing to me is that you've told this Survivor story. Jimmy's told it for the past 12 years.
Yeah.
And somehow, not until 2012 did anybody say to themselves, "We should probably do this and put it on YouTube."
And it really
it's a great idea.
Right during the Hail Mary, the plug came out, and then there's one where a guy, his girlfriend's dancing to Madonna's halftime show, and he pulls the plug, and she beats the hell out of him, like almost pro wrestling style. She hits him with a folding chair. But
it's probably going to lead to the biggest lawsuit maybe ever levied against a late night show. But I still love it. I think it's really funny. Anybody want to go into YouTube and check that out? I highly urge you to do it. I think you guys keep doing this every couple of weeks.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I would do it. One more thing I want to tell you about Jimmy. He wasn't as fortunate. This is not going to be relatable because of the money that was involved, but I won't even say what it was. But we had this stupid idea. Well, I had this stupid idea that all the writers and Jimmy put their paycheck in a hat, and whoever's paycheck gets picked has to bet the coin toss. And if we win, we all split the money, and the guy gets his paycheck back. If we lose, the guy just loses his paycheck. And then we thought, all right, it's weird if everyone finds out how much everyone else makes. So we made it a set amount that was a couple $1,000s, I'll say. And there were a few of us doing it, and we did it American Idol style. We picked names out of the hat. You're safe, you're safe, you're safe. It came down to me and Jimmy. Jimmy ends up losing out. So Jimmy has to put the money up. He has to pick. He picks tails, and it was heads.
Oh!
Yep. He lost.
Ah, that's great.
Yeah, so that's another great game on a much smaller scale, I recommend.
Speaking of bets, a couple of the props that we discussed on last week's podcast hit, including your first ever podcast Super Bowl guarantee.
Yes.
Henry Hynoski, over 4.5 yards. It was done in the beginning of the second quarter. You nailed it.
Yes, I think it was like the Giants' 7th play or something. It was great. Yeah. You had to even be rooting for that. That was ridiculous.
I have to say it was the only time I got excited for anything that happened with the Giants. I was fired up. I mean, it was like the Buffalo Bills finally winning a Super Bowl after that early '90s stretch.
Yeah, that's right. My other big one was Pats will convert a 4th down, and we're all like, we were talking like, oh, Brady always throws his head in, the nose of the ball goes past the first down. It needed to well into the 4th quarter for him to convert a 4th and 16 for that one to win. So that was. Oh,
you did get that. That's right.
Yeah, I think it was the branch, right? A 4th and 16.
And then the other one that we discussed, which seemed like just a lock, was the Giants will receive the opening kickoff, which was like minus 260, and that one hit.
They lose the toss, Patriots defer, and Giants receive the ball. Yeah.
I didn't realize when we did that podcast how many years of deferring the Patriots had done. It was 4 solid deferring years.
Since 2008 or something.
That line should have been higher.
Maybe they'll switch that up.
We need to discuss something about the gambling on that game. For the first time that I can remember, the public just banged one of the two Super Bowl teams. It never really changed, and Vegas, I'm assuming, got murdered.
It
right?
said that Vegas won money on this.
How?
I don't know how, because they gave away money, free money on that 60 to 1. It went from 50 to 100 to 1 somewhere on the safety being the first score. And everyone seemed to have the Giants in the money line. But I think so much money is lost on these stupid props that that's how they make up for it. But they claim they made a profit. But yeah, anyone we talked to said, yeah, we like the Giants or we like the Giants money line. I think like the only reason the line wasn't moving is because the money people were pounding the money line itself. So I don't know.
Well, I think the under probably helped because most people tend to go over.
Absolutely.
And also, like, if you looked at the under for the props, pretty much everybody went under. Like Brady went under, Manning went under, Gronkowski went under, Victor Cruz went under. I think out of like the 8 bets where you might have gone over, and it seemed like the odds had kind of swayed that way.
Yeah.
All of those bets went over for the most part.
Victor Cruz, the first touchdown was 8 to 1, so that wasn't a gigantic payout, So they that wasn't too bad. And I still have Daniel arguing with me over what color the freaking Gatorade was. Every reporter or website reports it as grape, and he's swearing it's clear, but I don't know what to do about that.
Two more questions for you, and then we'll let you go.
Yeah.
One, our friend Brad, who's an insane person, a lunatic. I think you can realistically call him a lunatic, right?
Yeah.
It's not an exaggeration. You'd be like, you call somebody a lunatic, and they think like, oh yeah, he's not really a lunatic. I know Brad's a lunatic.
Yeah, he's
and Brad is a diehard Giants fan, and you watched the Super Bowl with him. What was his performance like?
He logged about 17 miles pacing in the same 12 square foot radius there. He was out of his mind, screaming about how screaming about the initials on the helmet or on the jersey, about Mrs. Kraft. I don't even want to get into what he was saying about that.
Oh no!
Oh, it was terrible. And then just how Belichick's an idiot for not. He was going. No one knew what to make of him. But yeah. But I'm glad you mentioned him today because there's a court appearance today. So let's wish Brad luck and Jimmy the bail up for him.
Oh yeah, you had. Brad might have had some outstanding things that he was flagged
related.
on.
Not our subway, but underground transportation related. Yeah.
And he might have had a very high bail, and you may or may not have a cousin who put up that bail for him. And then you and I may or may not have talked for an hour about how funny it would have been to kidnap Brad so that he didn't show up, and then your cousin lost the bail. It would have been the greatest prank of all time. But
I told Jimmy, I said, look at it this way: it's not often that people lose a couple grand on the coin toss and 50 grand in bail money in the same 3 days. So
I need to give Brad a podcast. All right, last thing. Yeah. So the Super Bowl odds have come out for next year.
I didn't even look. Yeah, you saw them?
A couple interesting ones. First of all, the Patriots. I thought the Patriots would have the best odds because they have 2 first-rounders next year. Mm-hmm. And they're basically bringing every.
You didn't hear?
Oh, they traded down again. Crap.
Yeah,
they were 7-1 though, which seems when you think like how close they came this year. They're bringing everybody back. They're going to be better at running back. You'd figure they're going to address receiver, et cetera, and the 2 number 1s, and I think they have 2 number 2s, and a possibility that. Maybe they keep Brian Hoyer somehow, or trade him or whatever. Like 7-1, it seems like they should be the favorites. The favorites were the Packers 5-1, and then the Saints were 6-1.
Wow.
Were you surprised that the Pats were 7-1?
Yeah, that's a little high, but they're a favorite to win the AFC then, right?
I'm looking at Super Bowl.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying they're the best odds for the AFC.
Yeah. So then,
that's a little high. But what if Peyton Manning plays for the Dolphins, and what are you going to do then?
Well, that's another thing. So, San Francisco is 20-1.
Mm-hmm.
That seems way too high to me.
The NFC,
I thought they had the best defense by far this year.
Yep, they could have won the Super Bowl. Yeah.
I mean, anyway, they came within a hair, and you figure, all right, well, they're going to upgrade receiver.
Right. It's weird, 'cause if they had won in overtime and then got lucky and beaten the Patriots, they wouldn't have been 20-1 right now, right? They'd be like 8-1.
Yeah. And here's another one. The Titans, 50-1. Adam Schefter came on my podcast on Friday, and he said he gave us 5 teams that he thought Peyton Manning could go to, and the one that he actually seemed the most confident in were the Tennessee Titans.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, because Peyton Manning's from there. And it's like if he's Peyton Manning and you're thinking about, all right, I'm going to finish my career somewhere in a place that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's going to be Tennessee. Like people think like, oh, he'll go to the Jets. All right, well, what significance does that have to him? He's in the same city with his brother. If things go wrong, they'll turn on him immediately. They'll say it was the worst trade ever. You're not as good as your brother. Like there's some real downside to going to the Jets. If he goes to Tennessee, he's the conquering hero coming home. Oh, my God, we finally have a quarterback, blah, blah, blah. It's Peyton Manning. He's from here. He's the biggest hero in the history of the state. Like, that's a real thing, and that actually could happen.
Yeah, I could see that.
50-1.
But I think it all comes down to this. Like, all right, first of all, I think he wants to go to the AFC. I think he wants to beat some of these guys who have beaten him. I think it would be ideal if he beats Tom Brady in the AFC Championship, whatever team he's on.
Yeah.
And it'd be nice if he stayed in the division. He could do it twice, possibly. But does he want to rub it into the Colts? I mean, being in Tennessee, then he has to play the Colts twice. And
see, I think he would want that because of the Jim Irsay thing. I think that's a real thing.
Yeah, well, maybe.
Here's one more that didn't totally make sense to me, and then I'll let you go. The Chicago Bears, 30-1.
They're getting Cutler back.
Getting Cutler back. They actually lost enough games that they'll have a nice draft pick. You figure they bring Matt Forte back. Remember middle of the season last year, that team was I thought that team was the 4th best team in the league and had a legitimate chance to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And the Cutler thing happens. Now look at their division too. Detroit's in there, they're good. Green Bay's in there, they're good. So that's why I think those odds were a little high, but still, I think that's a little too high.
Yeah, 30's high, considering like the Jets are 20. And
yeah,
I say that 30 is high. That's not a bad one to jump on. Just let's stay away from the Rams, whatever we do.
Tebow 60-1, Lions 20-1, and then in terms of like the super duper crazy long shots, the Redskins are 100-1. And our remaining possibility, I feel like.
Yeah.
If any team's going to say, we're all in on Peyton Manning, we're overpaying, here are 3 number ones or whatever, it's going to be Dan Snyder.
Yeah, he hasn't done anything foolish in a while. It could be him.
Yeah.
Don't rule out the Ravens at 12-1. They were right there.
Yeah, they were right there. I wonder if that might have been their window closing, but you think like those receivers, those young receivers they took are going to be better. They had a really good draft last year. Maybe they have one more in there. It'll be pretty interesting. All right. I look forward to discussing this for you. Cousin Sal.
Not only that, before I go, who knows when I'll talk to you next on the podcast. We should mention we do have a few nice NBA bets going. We have the Clippers to win the Pacific.
Yep.
We have LBJ to win MVP. That seems strong.
And Chris Paul.
Right? We
have the.
It's not Durant. We're in good shape there, right? Because Rose is going to. It looks like he's going to miss a third of the season with all these injuries. But
Durant is the only one that could screw that up because that Oklahoma City team is really good. That was an impressive last couple wins by them.
Yeah. So and then we have
Indiana over.
Going on. Yeah.
We have Indiana over. We have Mitt Romney to win the Republican nominee. We have Minnesota over. We have Golden State under.
Beautiful.
Things are looking up for us, Cousin Sal.
Write that down. I like it. Let me.
All right, one last thing.
Real quick. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. No, I was just going to say you're writing an Oscars prop blog for us. I'm making you.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, for Grantland. You don't have a choice. You're doing it. Yeah.
I was going to say read the archives of my gambling blogs on Grantland all year if you miss me. But otherwise, on Jimmy Kimmel Live tonight, Nathan Fillion from Castle, Josh Hutcherson, and then Thursday, the lovely Courtney Cox. And then turn your TV off because we have Mario Manningham and Ahmad Bradshaw on the show.
Oh, no.
I know. I think I'm going to inject myself with mono tonight and see if I can.
Try to give them a cough or something at least.
Yeah, I will.
All right, Cousin Sal. Thank you for all the good work this season. Appreciate it.
Great job, Dad Billy.
Good job by you, Cousin Sal.
So I get to sign off.
Whoa.
Thank you for downloading the BS Report with Bill Simmons.
Too much fun.
Check out more podcasts at the iTunes Music Store or at Pod Center at ESPNradio.com.
Peace out.